this is so interesting. So many of our manifestations have to do with us, what we want, what we need, what would relieve pain in our lives, right? But the best ones, when you look at them, everybody involved gained something. Everybody involved, their life is better. The universe is better. Today, the universe is better because now we know we can change things that before we didn't know we can change. They were impossible. Today, they're not. So universally useful and mutually beneficial. It's one of those things that most people don't think about. Hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friends.
Hi, I'm Liz Larson.
Bill
And
I'm Bill McKenna.
And
together, we created the Cognomovement system.
The UK Health
and
Radio
we'd like to
Network.
welcome you
And the team
to
that
the
created
New
the
Life
Cognomovement
Perspectives
system.
radio show.
Where
And
we're going to be sharing
bringing you
with
guys
you
in on another one of
tools,
our
tips, and
backstage
ideas that are going to change
It's about
your life.
manifesting. So if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we teach practitioners in our methodology called Cognomovement. And we're in constant conversation with them as well. And recently we had a conversation about why do we focus our attention on manifesting? And isn't this whole thing more about clearing trauma? And isn't it kind of, this isn't what was said in the question, but isn't it kind of like almost vanity or something like that, that we focus on, like people getting money or a house or a car? And shouldn't the conversation be deeper than this? Well, Bill and I found this question fascinating because we think of manifesting as something else entirely. Yes, people get big things in their life. Big things happen. But we kind of think of it more about what happens minute by minute, day to day. So share your perspective on this question first, Bill.
Well, I think kind of the question is around what is manifesting? Really, that's a fundamental question, but what is manifesting? And for some people, it's like, oh my God, it is the new jet showed up, the new house that I always wanted, the perfect cowboy.
I remember that one.
There's so many things, right? That people are like, oh my God, that is life-changing, man. If this happens, well, our perspective actually, and it's the reason that we wanted to do this episode, is to kind of bring to light what we really think about manifesting and the way that we see it. And one of the things that we agree on is that manifesting is a constant process. It's minute by minute, and we are constantly involved in it. Everything that's happening is a manifestation, but for all of us, at least myself, in our prior lives, was like, I had nothing to do with that. There is a nail in my tire, and I had a damn thing to do with it. I have no idea why servers treat me like crap. I don't know. My food always shows up wrong. I said, no mustard. I hate mustard. Why did God make mustard anyway? That was the proof that there's a problem. Proof that there's a Satan. There's mustard.
Right. Horseradish tastes like death and sorrow.
Right. Proof that there's pain in the world. But one thing that happens along the journey is that we realize that we're actually really doing it every minute of the day when whatever is happening in our lives is a manifestation. It is a reflection of what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. And when it's just as important, the tension, the problem, the difficulty, as the thing that's right, the positive situation, the money randomly showing up, the parking space just being there. Oh my gosh, what do you mean a front row parking space? Whatever it might be, you start to look at it differently as reflections and indications of what's going on. And the absence often of problems, right? Is you maybe took a long drive and nothing happened. Nothing happened. Oh my God, you drove to San Francisco and yeah, it was a long trip, but nothing happened. Your car made it the whole way. That's a reflection. Just like the reflection of the many cars that you passed in accidents, ran out of gas, they're at the, whatever, right? But it's minute to minute. And this understanding, right, is another different level of consciousness, right? Just having that simple understanding.
Yeah, you're
a starting place.
Yeah, you're 100% right about that. I want to back up just a little bit. You said about the way we see it, and I'm going to correct that a little bit, Bill McKenna. It's really not the way we see it. It's the way we live it.
Ah, I like the way you put that.
We live it because for us, the understanding that manifesting is what we are, not just who we are. It's what we are, and that we direct our lives, like you said, minute by minute. Manifesting is this idea that humans, in particularly in the galaxy, even, this is one of those things, if you're into ufology or kind of galactic thinking, that the reason we're so interesting to other races is that we have this very unique ability. We can turn thought into thing. But what you and I know, Bill, and what we teach everyone that we come in contact with, it's just not about your thought. It's how you feel in general shapes the life you have. You are able to, as a human being, affect the field around you and then affect the greater field. We're running into each other all the time, creating this soup of community and consciousness. So if you think about this, I was just in Utah. I live in Southern Oregon. Utah feels real different than Southern Oregon. The people speak a little differently. They act a little differently. Like, for example, on the West Coast, everybody's about hard ciders. It's everywhere. You go to a restaurant that looks similar in Utah and they don't have it. They have other kinds of things, but they don't have that. It's not a part of their collective consciousness. Here it goes wild, right? So how we think, how we feel, how we dress, how we speak, it starts to become our reality. And this is who and what we are. So the mistake is that manifesting, and this is why I think this idea from The Secret really hurt people, is that manifesting is I'm going to think about an elephant and an elephant shows up, right? I'm going to think about checks in the mail and checks in the mail are going to show up. So people would sit around and think real hard about the thing they want. And it didn't show up a lot of times. Sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. Most of the times it didn't. And the reason is because really how you feel about that is there's not going to be checks showing up in the mail. I'm more afraid that they're not than certain that they are, right? So people would just suffer and suffer around this idea. And I think this is where this question of our practitioner came from, thinking about the big checks in the mail, the elephant, the love of my life, the money. I'm supposed to think about it and then poof, it shows up. But in reality, the general way we feel about something influences how we think. And that general feeling is what manifests your general life. The stronger you feel about something, the quickly it's going to show up. In terms of negative necessarily, like we were on this trip this weekend and my husband rented a Jeep. And the whole time we were gone, he was worried about damaging that Jeep because it was a brand new 2015 $80,000 rig hybrid. What do you think happened during that trip, Bill McKenna?
Oh no.
That Jeep broke down.
Right.
Had to be towed. I could see it coming 3 miles away because he was so worried about scratching it, about damaging it. We were supposed to have purchased a Jeep when we got there and drove that, but it didn't work out that way. We ended up purchasing the Jeep at the end. But this Jeep that we rented, I knew it was coming because he was so concerned.
Oh my gosh.
That Jeep was towed away. You could see the relief. He didn't have to worry about that anymore. He didn't have to think about damaging someone else's Jeep. So it was a negative feeling and it manifested very quickly. Now, if he had cleaned up his thought around it, it would have been just fine. The whole thing would have been fine and worked out really well. But he didn't clean up his thought. So what we know is when there's something we really want, we clean up our energy, those big chunks. We clean up our energy and we become happy expectors, right? We're happily expecting it to come. And sometimes we can forget about it, right? And then it shows up sometimes immediately, but sometimes years and years later. So we'll talk about this a little bit. Bill and I had a huge month this month, and multiple things manifested in our experience that as we think about them are years in the making. And the things that had to come into place for those things to happen so perfectly were years in the universe making the adjustment. So we know what prompted our practitioner's question is one of their clients did not get their manifestation yet, right? Well, I did the thing and I didn't get my manifestation, but we know that the rest of that sentence is yet, because sometimes everything has to sort itself out and then it shows up perfectly, but it's no less a manifestation, right?
Right. And we were talking about some of the manifestations that came about this month for us. And there were components, and the components started years prior, many years prior, in order for the orchestration to show up today. It was just without certain steps, the information, the knowledge, the experience wouldn't have been there for us to be able to manifest, say, something like a healing for somebody.
Yeah.
Because the knowledge, the experience, the timing, all of the detail, it was so complex when we analyzed it. It, like, if you did the mathematics on it, I'll give you an we just, I'm not going to talk details or actually say any, there is no named, no named disease right here, but there was a woman that had a very, very big problem, shall we say, a very big problem that could not be solved, and no way, no how, not going to be solved. And Liz this woman had manifested the one person in the world that could help with this unsolvable problem. Literally, in the entire world, we did the math. I think there's something like 7 billion people on the planet. One of them is Liz Larson, the other one's me. And she manifested Liz Larson literally staying in her house. That is a 1 in 3.5 billion chance of connecting with Liz. And this connection happened through a video we had done years prior about the energy testing in BioWell. And we just happened to have discovered and trained on the BioWell. And there was one random event after the next that caused us to do the experiments at the Blind Frog Ranch related to the energy, biofield energy, which ended up turning into them moving to Vernal, Utah, which ended up turning into another random meeting, and somehow, some way, there was a gentleman who was literally an angel disguised as a con artist who had to come in and to be the person to make it happen, the catalyst. It's such a sordid story, but ultimately, this woman, a 1 in 3.5 billion chance, and she did it. She did it. It's crazy how, but my point is that there were physical steps in the manifestation, physical steps for the universe to line up the ultimate lottery that this woman orchestrated for herself. Ultimate lottery, winner.
Absolutely. Let's take a break. And when we come back, let's talk about the why and the how of this. There are a couple of things, how you feel and availability, that play a big role in how and why things show up that pair with this story. So let's hear from the good folks at UK Health Radio Network, and we'll be right back. UK Health, take it away. Okay, and we're back. We're talking about manifesting and how it really works, and how some people get really tied up in the idea that I wanted it and it didn't show up. But there's a big why behind this. And if you can understand this, you can really start to take control of the path of your life. So Bill was just talking about this extraordinary series of events that took place. Now, if you're thinking that Bill and I just show up in people's houses and work on them, we do not. This does not happen. But this time it did. And the series of things that had to happen started years ago. We realized it started way back when we were introduced to the BioWell system. And then there was an event where I met Dwayne at Blind Frog Ranch. And then, we went to Blind Frog and we did this work. And so it all culminated in this person with a very unique set of issues that I had a very unique set of tools to help her with. And I ended up at her house. Now, there are many pieces to this. And one of them is that earlier in the month, last month, I had gone to Pennsylvania and worked with kids with severe brain injury. We were doing some experiments with a person who is one of our practitioners, who is a speech therapist. And we were trying to see what would become available. While I was there, we learned some things that had I not learned those, I could not have helped this person in Vernal in the way I did. So even that little piece was a piece that had to happen. So here's what I want to say about this. Manifestations have to become available. I'm always saying, like, it's waiting outside your fence, waiting for you to let it in. And those are the things that you've been thinking about for a long time, and or just right now, but they're available. Everything has arranged itself so it's available right now. And so it appears as though it happens right now. We have them all the time. Things that change in 5 minutes, things that change in 30 minutes, right? And then there are things that we know are years and years in the making, right? At the time in which they become available and you are a match to them, meaning you feel good about them coming into your life. You're ready. Your thought and your feeling is like, yeah, cool, let's go. You're happily expectant, or you've sort of forgotten about it. And then that's when it becomes available in your field. If you are, wanting the lottery, which so many people do, and this is their claim that manifesting doesn't work, but you're also at the same time afraid that someone's going to take it from you, or by the time you get it, the government won't have the money. It's not going to show up because you're more afraid than not. So there has to be a match between availability, the universe has organized all the things, it's really here for you, and your physical and mental readiness. Don't you think, Bill?
It's absolutely true. And, here's the thing that we learned along the path is that the subtleties, it is the very subtle things that you're unaware of that we can locate through your nervous system that are objecting to the manifestation. For me, my objection that was hidden, let's say, for example, for manifesting was, I need this. I need to really figure it out and have really strong actions, right? That was that. I didn't really think of it as something that would keep me from manifesting. But what it does is it creates a dynamic tension, right? It's that wanting of it, but it's so subtle. It's so subtle that what it does is it creates this subtle tension, and not only that, but when someone, their awareness or understanding evolves, right? So you go from resentment and blame or frustration to, maybe embracing more love and joy in your life and acceptance. And with that, what happens is it's like stepping on the gas pedal. So what I mean by that is that everything is going to happen faster, but the resistance also is going to be more significant as well. So everything is kind of, I would just call it, the volume gets turned up. It reminds me of a very funny story, when Liz was talking about the car. I have a friend of mine that is very much, as far as that love and joy and everything, he has a Prius, and this particular woman was driving for about an hour back from an appointment, and there was a rattle. There's a rattle, and she's like, there's this rattle, and the entire time of the rattle is like, oh my God, it's the transmission. The transmission, it's rattling. And oh no, I can't really afford how much is a transmission? Transmission. Oh gosh, for sure. I just hope I can make it home with the transmission, and anyway, pulling, because there's this very particular rattle, pulling in, there's a couple of, silver platters in the back. And as she's going around the corner, I'm wondering, gets distracted, looks in the back seat, and the silver platters they're the ones banging around. It's the silver platters, you can see them, right? It's like, oh God, thank God, the silver platters. That's what was making that noise, right? Pulls in. Oh my God, so happy I made it home. And that was ridiculous. Parks the car, gets takes out the stuff. Next day, get in the car. What do you think's going to happen?
Transition.
Transmission.
Well, okay, so I don't want to scare people off, but it's 100% true. Like, people think of a manifestation as only the good things, these big things that happen, but it is these things as well. We literally are creating our own life. So here's the good news. What Bill and I discovered, and I personally live this, so is that if I were to keep my feeling nice and clean on a daily basis, that less of those things showed up and more kind of great things showed up. So I did a series called Manifesting in Bite-Sized Pieces because I learned this lesson. The big things would also often be not available. So it feels like, I can't get from there to here, the Abraham Hicks language, right? I don't know how that's never going to happen for me, right? But if I look at what shiny thing is next, what little thing is next that might come into my life, oh, that was fun. And then the next and the next and the next. And what I discovered is, in many cases, it led me to those giant manifestations, sometimes years later, but the trip was so much fun. And also, when I got there, that huge manifestation, like one that happened last month, is so obvious that you're like, okay, yeah, saw that one coming, right? So the idea is that when you wake up in the morning, and for me, mornings are not my thing. And more often than not, I would wake up salty. And here's a big one that so many of us do. We like to keep our troubles close, right? Let's keep a real close eye on all of those pitfalls that might happen, right? Even if something fantastic was happening, like I traveled to Italy a lot and I'd be there and it's my happiest place in the world, but I would have my eye on those troubles in the business, in whatever was happening in my life. Oh, they're running in the background. And if I kept my eye on those, if I kept those close, I think it was a superstition. Maybe I could prevent bad things from happening, right? So I discovered that there is this core feeling in the body of my own body. When I collapse that feeling, when I every day make sure that feeling is not running full blown and I'm not keeping an eye on all those problems, I'm just neutral. I'm just feeling good. I'm just going about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. In this calm but positive feeling, guess what happens? I don't have all those problems that I'm supposed to be focusing on. They sort of just collapse. They're not a thing. They're not real anyway, because I was making them up about the future. But also now on my path are all kind of more shiny things. Oh, like I can see them now. I couldn't see them before because I had my eye on those problem situations, right?
Exactly.
Right now, it's like, oh, look what's right there, and look what's right there, and look what's right there. So now life, daily life on a regular basis, is a series of fun little manifestations that add up to the big ones. So everything, even a beautiful meal, I find myself being like, oh, wow, this is great. Hey, taste these potatoes. These are so good. Oh my gosh, this glass of wine is just lovely. I would have thought someone like me was a weirdo before, just Pollyanna, right? But Bill, I actually really enjoy that glass of wine or those potatoes or the environment. And so I now get more of those experiences, which I love. Now, is a lovely meal a manifestation? Absolutely yes. But most people would say no, right?
Right. But this comes right back down to the basics. And the tool you're utilizing to clear out those other like tension filled experiences, in your life. Now, one of the important things, if we distill this, is that we go from a feeling of fear and doubt to a feeling of some sort of derivative of love and trust. Now, with all the energy centers in our body, not to get too metaphysical here, but your energy centers shut down in fear and doubt and open up in love and trust. And they have everything to do. We talk about this in our Cogno Quantum program. That is really the one that's about manifesting. But as those open up, this has everything to do with speed, right? Everything happens more easily and quicker. So, one of the things that Liz has really, shall we say, manifested into her existence is her being neutral. And this is a derivative of trust. That's really what she's able to do now is as an experience, not being I'm all strong and everything. She's actually just no, I trust now as a real experience. But that became available when her feeling changed, when she was able to release the feeling out of the body. The thought follows that, and the actions follow as well. We need to take a break real quick. UK Health Radio, take it away.
Okay, and so we're back. We're talking about manifesting really minute by minute, and that your general overall feeling is what manifests the quality of your life, really. And so I want to add something else. Bill was saying, love and trust. And if Bill had said that to me, I don't know, even 18 months ago, I would have wanted to punch him right in the mouth. Like, trust the universe. The universe is a big, fat, hairy being that just, conspires against me. Well, the truth is, it's the word love and trust for me. Those were a little bit of a trigger. But I'll tell you what it really feels like. And Bill's right. That is essentially what happens. But it's not about, I trust the universe, even though I think it's a jerk, It's that I just feel neutral. Like I said, I went on a trip to Utah, and normally there would have been things in the background I'm worried about. We're running a business. We've got all kinds of things happening. And the truth is, I was just present in the moment. There are such spectacular things to see in Utah. Spectacular. When we were doing that, I was fully there. My husband was with me. We had a great time. We laughed and joked. It was wonderful. When I was working with this human that I encountered and worked with, I was so present there that all I could see was her and what might be possible. Had I encountered her even 6 months ago, the possibilities had not aligned yet. It wouldn't have been fully baked. I could have helped her for sure with our work. Our work can do so many amazing things, but there were some skills that needed to be built that Bill and I and our group had kind of built up to this point. And I want to say this, that whole trip was very mutually resourceful for everyone involved, universally useful. This is so interesting. So many of our manifestations have to do with us, what we want, what we need, what would relieve pain in our lives, right? But the best ones, when you look at them, everybody involved gained something. Everybody involved, their life is better. The universe is better. Today, the universe is better because now we know we can change things that before we didn't know we can change. They were impossible. Today, they're not. So universally useful and mutually beneficial. It's one of those things that most people don't think about. If I go to the grocery store and I'm salty, everyone I run into, they're going to be jerks too, right? They're going to charge me too much at the cash register. They're going to be out of my favorite thing. Somebody probably will have door dented me at the parking lot, right? Really not resourceful for anyone at all. If I go to the grocery store and I have what's called a cogno glow, after a cogno movement session, or I'm just in my general neutral state, I'll walk through the store and somebody will stop me and say, "Oh, you look so beautiful today." Or there's somebody in the aisle and I'm there at the exact right time and I'm there to, get something off the top shelf for them. And oh, they're so appreciative, right? And when I go through the checkout, I exchange a lovely story with someone at the cash register, right? "Oh, thank you so much. Have such a beautiful day." And when I go outside my parking space, that the one that I wanted was available, it's now there and my car is great, right? That is universally resourceful and mutually beneficial to all because each one of those people that I interact with, they're in a better state to interact with other people. And now we're talking about changing the universe, right, Bill McKenna? Now we're talking about changing the world, raising the consciousness of the world.
It's absolutely the case, right? If you look at it, the person that you encountered that was spicy, how'd they get that way? You don't know what happened right down the line, and it emanated into you. You've encountered people that were surly as all heck, and then you ended up having it didn't end there when you left the store. You took it home with you, and you might have not been kind to the people around you. There is a ripple effect. When one of the wonderful things about NDEs, near-death experiences, there's the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and there's many other organizations that you can join to kind of study and learn about this and it's profitable in your life because you can understand things from a broader perspective. But one of the things they talk about is you have no idea how powerful you are.
That's true.
You don't know how far you reached. And it goes in both directions, right? If you've ever encountered somebody, I see this happen all the time, it's 20 years later, it's 30 years later, and then there's a meeting of these people who haven't seen each other forever. And the one person is like, "I remember when you were doing spitballs, and one hit me right in my cheek right here, and they whatever the slight from many, many years ago, it stayed with the other person forever, right? And this emanates out through their lives. So it's very much a understanding or a lived experience of we are interconnected and affecting each other. And that's the important thing, I think, that I would like to get through on this call, is that it's all interconnected. We're all affecting each other, and that as you clear your stuff out, your shame, your guilt, your grief, your humiliation, all of these things, these automatic feelings, you manifest something different. And that means manifesting something different on a minute-to-minute basis, but in somebody else's life, like that, just the interaction at McDonald's, getting your Big Mac, the the person looked you in the eye, you looked them in the eye. You gave some money to a homeless person and you connected, and they were happy about it and you were happy. And, you felt it, all of these little things in life that, just the daily occurrences of life, but you're really impacting and you're really manifesting in ways you have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea that you're actually doing and it's actually connected. I had the wonderful experience of, and this has happened countless times, is where I meet somebody and then they're like, oh, do you realize you grew up with my aunt and the da, 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 and we're on a plane to Malaysia and the person sitting next to me is, from, like, oh yeah, I know your sister. Oh, and she helped me because my daughter had cancer and it's like, whoa, hey, and like random, the intermingling. It's almost like it only happens after you die. You see the connection, but open up. You're connected. You're doing it, and as you can live this better life, not only do your manifestations start to occur at a faster pace and easier, but you'll start to see the interconnections, and it'll be like so odd.
You really can't, it's not even explainable until you experience it. So let's talk, we just have 5 minutes left in the show. And I want to talk about how a person can have this experience. So if you listen to Abraham Hicks, if you're into manifestation, they're one that a lot of people know and listen to. And they used to say, you can't get there from here. You need to change the way you feel just for the sake of feeling good. They would say, Abraham, are you trying to just make us forget about our manifestation and just feel good? And they would say, yes. That would drive me crazy because I'm like, I get it. I get that I need to feel better about this, but I don't. So there's a how. There is a how. And I'm going to make a bold statement. Do not listen to even one more Abraham Hicks until you know Cognomovement. Because once you do, everything they say makes perfect sense because it is a how for changing the way you feel. See, Bill and I understand that it's not about changing your thoughts. That's like arguing with a terrorist or a toddler, changing your mind. It's about changing the way your body feels and the way your body and your brain interact with itself, with each other in your nervous system. Your nervous system is responding automatically. So you are absolutely at a deficit. You're at a disadvantage right off the bat. If your nervous system has an opinion about your manifestation other than neutral and happily expectant. Most of the time it's like 90% fear, 10% woo, right? You need to be 95% woohoo and 10%. I wonder how that's going to happen. Or 5%. I don't math. I wonder how that's going to happen. I wonder how it's going to happen is different than, okay, first this needs to happen and then that needs to happen. And then, bossing the universe. Being in a general state. This is why I go back to, for myself, it's every day, 10 minutes a day. I just do what's called our Cognomovement work. It's just basically telling my nervous system to calm, getting a natural part of my body that wants to worry about things to just simply relax. And that opens a part of my brain that sees possibility. So it's this very simple physical exercise that activates all the learning centers in the body, that harmonizes the left and right side of the brain, that calms my physical body, awakens my logical mind, awakens my ideas and inspiration. And now I can see the path from here to there. And I get to pick up the jewels along the way, the shiny things that are so much fun. It's so simple that you won't believe how simple it is. Just paying attention to cleaning up how your body is talking to itself. The things that are automatically making you be in fear and doubt and pain are as simple as flipping a switch and letting your body be at absolute happy expectation more often than not. More often than not. We're human. We get upset about things, but knowing how to flip that over, understand the problem, get the body to neutral, and then the logical mind goes, oh, there's the answer. Oh, here's the person to help me. Oh, here's the video on YouTube that tells me how to work that out, right? It all becomes easy if you know how to adjust this very specific system within your body that we all have. It's just learning the tool. So Cognomovement has a new thing. It's called Cognomovement Essentials. And it is this basic tool. To learn how to use it, you can learn how to use it for all kinds of little things and huge things. But the net effect is you begin to manifest naturally in a positive way just because that's how you feel on a regular basis. All right, Bill, we have come to the end of our time for today. You have one last 30-second thought for everybody before we go?
Yes. If you like, you can look up our practitioners and on the website as well. If you have the Cognomovement Essentials already and you want help, they're awesome and they can help you to work through stuff. There's nothing like it, having a professional guide you through and help you out. They can really, even if you don't have the essentials, you can schedule a session with them and they'll do it for you as well.
Yeah. I think if people are listening and maybe they don't want to do any kind of a program, do this one thing. Notice if you're focused on your problems. Just make a note, make a check mark every time your brain goes to all the monsters that are out there that might be attacking you. At the end of the day, you're probably likely going to have a whole page full of check marks. If you do, you know you've got to make a change to manifest. It's just that simple. All right, you guys. Until next week, be safe and be well. We'll see you all again real soon. Thanks for being here, Bill McKenna.
Thanks for being here with us on the New Life Perspective radio show. For more information or to find out more about the work that Bill and I do, please visit us at cognomovement.com or email us at info@cognomovement.com. See you again soon.